Hey guys, my name is Tito. I make videos on personal finance on my other channel. On this channel, I talk about other things, like today when I'll be reviewing the new Nollywood drama on YouTube, I Choose Me. After a brilliant woman accepts a marriage proposal from her colleague, she reluctantly quits her job so that they can start a family, but she eventually becomes a prisoner in her own home with no hope in sight. I Choose Me stars Debbie Felix, Deyemi Okanlawon, and Tracey George, and it's directed by Olubunmi Akimbola. Now, this film came out on Friday, June 20th on YouTube, on Biodun Stevens' YouTube channel to be specific. And the funny thing is, that same day, there was a film that she directed which came out in cinemas called Unclaimed. And that stars Kunle Remi, Eniola Tito, and Elma Mbadiwe. And like I said, Biodun Stevens directed that. So on the same day, she had one film come out on YouTube and another one come out in cinemas. And the one on YouTube, I saw that easily. Like the following day on Saturday, I saw it, no big deal. But the one in cinemas, I'm dragging my feet. I'm low-key waiting to hear if it's worth my time and my money, because a 7,500 naira cinema ticket is no joke. And it kind of like reminds me of this whole competition between Nollywood YouTube and Nollywood in cinemas, right? And it's looking like Nollywood YouTube is winning because yeah, it's just a whole thing. Anyway, let's dive into the review of this film, I Choose Me, beginning with the performances. Debbie Felix. Funny enough, Debbie Felix was in the last movie I reviewed. Anyway, in this one, she plays Linda, and we're introduced to her as a headstrong, opinionated career woman who, loses all that once she gets married and decides to, or is compelled to sacrifice a whole lot of her individuality for the sake of her marriage, her husband, and her home. And the performance from Debbie was good, but it wasn't, in my opinion, not the performance now, the character was not broad and dynamic. So two separate things. Performance was all right, but that character should have been written to be a bit more broad, so they could have fleshed out a bit more from that character. What do I mean by this? We see her go from one type of woman to being another type of woman, but we really don't get into the decisions she makes and her thought processes. We just see her suffering in her marital home, but we don't really get to hear her introspections or hear her think of how her life could have been different had she made better choices. We just see her just not necessarily lazing about, but wallowing away in her matrimonial home because of the abuse, the emotional abuse she's being subjected to by her husband, played by Deyemi Okanlawon, who he does that role really well. He's very convincing in the role. He's quite good. His performance is quite good. But again, I wish that character could have been fleshed out a bit more, because in the beginning, while he's not the most emotionally intelligent person, and he's very archaic in his way of thinking that his wife, in the beginning of the film, he says it's not proper for a man to move into his wife's or his fiance's home after they get married and things like that. He has very traditional beliefs and ways of thinking. There's that, but there's also him easily cheating on his wife Linda and just treating her so poorly. And I couldn't reconcile how he goes from, yes, while he's a traditional man with some archaic beliefs in the beginning of the film, I did not understand how he goes from that to being such a toxic and emotionally abusive husband in the span of 2 years or however long. I wish we got to see how he goes from that kind of man to this kind of, from that kind of bad man to this kind of worse man. It seemed like something was missing there. And maybe, again, that comes down to the writing. But we're talking about performance here, right? And as far as performances go, his performance was very good and very convincing. He was, this manipulative husband who liked to play mind games and who just really took advantage of his wife's naivete. It was interesting to see and painful to watch at the same time. Tracey George, she is Nkechi in this film. She's the other woman and Linda's colleague in the office who has an affair with Bade. Tracey does a really good job in the film as well, being that other woman. And while watching, I was trying to figure out if it was her intention the whole time to have an affair with Bade, and what was even the appeal of Bade. What did she want? I didn't really get the sense that she saw what Linda had and she wanted that. or was she just being an opportunist? I didn't really see the rationale or the what made Bade appeal to Nkechi so much. But that's the beauty of this film, in the sense that these things happen in real life, first of all, and secondly, some people don't really need a concrete reason or rationale to do the things they do or to make certain decisions. These things just happen sometimes. Sometimes people are just lonely. Sometimes people just trust other people too much. So these things do happen. Finally, Biodun Stephen herself is in the movie as Nkechi's auntie in the film, and she represents that family member who tries to convince people, because we know family members like auntie, who get you to overlook yourself and your individuality and common sense, all in the name of satisfying your spouse, most times your husband, or nurturing your home or preserving your home, because there's so much common sense that was thrown out the window by Biodun Stephen's character, all in the name of it's marriage. This is what you do for marriage. This is what you do to preserve your home. This is what you do to please your husband. So yes, the characters are very relatable. I'm sure we all knew people. We all know people like each of these characters each of the main characters in this film. The performances were strong, but honestly, I wish there was a bit more dynamism. What I liked early on in the film, I noticed the costumes, and I really liked them. They were colorful and they had these really nice designs. And I think that's a common theme with many of Biodun Stephen's films, the costuming. Costuming in this film reminded me of the outfits and the wardrobe in Sister from a couple of years ago. I also liked the acting in this film, like I mentioned earlier, and the story itself I felt was good. I felt like it's like a cautionary tale on what can happen when you give away your agency, particularly for the purpose of marriage or pleasing your spouse, and you risk becoming a slave. And just listening to bad advice and things like that, especially for the sake of marriage. I think that was the underlining theme of this film. Doing things that don't make sense, all for the institution of marriage and what tradition says and what society says. Tradition and society aren't always wrong, but there are times when tradition and society get it very wrong. Who should see it? See I Choose Me if you like a very powerful emotional drama about overcoming adversities, particularly within marriage, right, and toxic relationships. Because at the end of this film, we see how Linda comes out of the messy situation she's in her marriage, and that happens with the support of Tinu, her best friend, who I think was Bade's, her husband's cousin, as well as her auntie, played by Biodun Stephen. And I was wondering, while watching this film, how she was going to come out of the sticky situation she was in. Because typically in films like this, there's another man, or there's a best friend, or there's someone else who comes through in the nick of time. And that kind of happened, but it happened in a different way in this film. And yeah, if you fall into the category of people who like emotional dramas about overcoming adversity, I think you'll enjoy this film. In conclusion, I kind of struggled with this film in the beginning because I felt like it was just so far-fetched, and who would be so stupid as to give their life fully to a man or to somebody else and trust them to have your best intentions at heart. But I had to remind myself that this is the reality for lots and lots of people around the world, not just in Nigeria. Lots of women give up their agency and their independence for the sake of marriage and for the sake of preserving their home. And there's so many voices, because that was represented in this film, those societal voices and family voices who bombard you with the notion that you should sacrifice so much, including common sense, in order to preserve your home and to sustain and uplift your marriage at your own expense, right? And I think that's one of the beauties of this film, right? Or the great things about this film. It riles you up. It makes you feel this indignation within yourself. And it's good because it's one of those things that will help to keep you or other people, if you can advise them, right, from entering such situations, particularly as it relates to marriage. So it's a very good cautionary tale in that regard. I rate this film, I Choose Me. I'll give it a 3 because it was such a powerful message. But yeah, I really want to give it a 2.5, but let me give it a 3. Yeah, if you've seen I Choose Me, let me know what you thought about it in the comment section down below. I have so much to say about these types of films where a woman is suffering at the hands of her husband, and how I think Biodun Stephen has really, she's really dealt with that topic, or that, I don't know, that niche quite a bit. And I want to think, once I'm done with this, I'll go and think if it's a bit played out, if, that has been rinsed, and, we need to move on to other things. But yeah, for now, on this one alone, I'll say it was a nice watch, and you should check it out. Like I said, if you enjoy a good emotional drama about overcoming adversities. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please look out for some content I'll be releasing in early July. There's a faith-based series called The Wives coming out really soon. I interviewed some of the actors in that. I'll be releasing content relating to that or around that really soon. So look out for that content, and also look out for the series itself, which I think will go live on July 6th. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this review, please do me a favor and like it by clicking on the like button just underneath the video, and subscribe to my channel as well by clicking on the black subscribe button. I will catch you guys in the next one. Take care.